This PPT Presents broadcast is brought to you by TechWitch Detroit. TechWitch Detroit for all your IT needs. Please visit us on the web at techwitchdetroit.com. TechWitch Detroit, we can help.
This episode of PPT Presents is brought to you by Pagan Pathways Temple. Pagan Pathways Temple is a 501c3 out of beautiful Madison Heights, Michigan. We offer classes, community outreach, ritual space, and a library available to our members. To find out more or to become a member, please go to paganpathwaystemple.org or patreon.com/paganpathwaystemple. Pagan Pathways Temple, growing in the old ways where all paths are open.
All of the opinions expressed on this show are those of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily express the views of Pagan Pathways Temple or its affiliates. Welcome to PPT Presents, episode 27. Thank you for listening. Today on PPT Presents we have Cynthia Day and Fur on It Makes You Think, with the conclusion of their deep dive into the divine masculine. After that, we have Conversation Corner with the Gladstones. Today they'll be talking about how to learn to be pagan. Please join us on Patreon and Facebook as Pagan Pathways Temple celebrates Joy in July. You can find us at patreon.com/Pagan Pathways Temple or facebook.com/groups/Pagan Pathways Temple. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of your week.
And now it's time for It Makes You Think by Cynthia Day. Subjects that are sufficiently complicated enough to give one pause, just enough to make you think. Hi, and thank you for listening to It Makes You Think. Today is podcast 27, and we're finishing up on our topic, the divine masculine. Fur, say hi.
Hi, Fur.
Okay. How have you been?
Okay. A little drained lately, but it's been hot.
Yeah, it's a hot day. What have you thought so far of the divine masculine interviews with Jester D and Stan Nunn?
Well, so far I've seen a lot of the male aspects that they're looking for is strength, willful strength, being able to withstand hardships, because life is full of hardships. So that's what a lot of, it's also encouraged a lot in our society for men to be strong. And it doesn't always have to be physically. It's emotionally able to have stability.
Yeah, it was hard to try to get the guys so far to talk about the softer side of masculinity. They were, I guess it's somewhat difficult for guys in general to talk about emotive states, I guess. Yeah,
it's been pretty well ingrained in the male psyche that you're not supposed to show emotion. It's starting to break down a little bit, but most of these men that we've been interviewing are at least 30 years old.
Yeah.
And that's how I was raised. It's how you were raised. Women are supposed to be more emotional and flighty with their emotional states, and they're supposed to be more emotionally connected.
Maybe we
Men
are
supposed to be,
Maybe we are more emotionally connected. I don't know.
But men are encouraged to be, more protector, more steadfast and willful and hard, and they aren't supposed to be soft.
Well, I think we can take a moment now and listen to Bear Darkmoon and listen to the interview that I did with him. It may just go to prove everything you just said, but we can take a listen and find out where he's at on it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk to Bear Darkmoon. Hi, this is Cynthia Day, and this is a continuation of Podcast 26, now Podcast 27, on the Divine Masculine. I'm sitting here today with Bear Dark Moon, who is a member of our Pagan Pathways Temple board for a minute. And I have a few questions for him regarding his path and how he sees the Divine Masculine. So, Bear, what is your patron deity or deities?
I'm a practitioner of the Norse ways. I primarily work with Odin, Thor, Heimdall, and very sparingly Loki.
Loki, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you feel connected to your patron deities?
Odin I call upon when I need guidance and wisdom. Thor when I need strength and perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Heimdall when I recognize that I need to sit back and observe and see how this plays out.
Ah.
And Loki when things get chaotic, because my first question is this your doing? And if his answer is no, then I try to find the humor in what's going on around me.
And that in itself sounds wise to be in dealing with chaos, because everyone needs a little chaos in your life. We don't learn from when things are straight and easy to deal with. When things are difficult, that's when we make our most progress.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. How would you yourself define the Divine Masculine? And what do you see as important to you about it?
To me, the Divine Masculine is a bit both creative and destructive. There's strength in it, but there's also a softer side to it. When life knocks you down, it's the Divine Masculine that goes, hey, get back up, you're not done yet.
Ah, yeah. I recognize that.
But, I found that Odin doesn't like giving straight answers. He'll leave you with something to think about and let you determine what you need to pull out of it, and then go, okay, if you learned what you needed to from it, he'll go, well done. If you didn't learn from it, he's going to hit you with something similar to it again, and he will challenge you. And it's how you rise and face those challenges.
So Odin is always challenging.
More often than not, yes. But he'll show you what you need to learn from it.
Yeah.
And he'll go, okay, now use it to your advantage.
So in this way, the Divine Masculine is a great teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It doesn't teach it easy, but it makes sure you learn it well.
By experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's a line from a song by Guns N' Roses that said, I met an old cowboy, I saw the look in his eyes, something tells me he's been here before, experience makes you wise.
Yes. Yes, it does. How has the Divine Masculine in your life affected your spiritual life, and do you find ways to emulate the Divine Masculine?
The Divine Masculine often reminds me, that you're not done yet, no matter how challenging things have gotten in my life. You're not dead yet. You still have a lot of fight left in you. Get up, get your head screwed on straight, and get back at it. Life may knock you down 100 times. Get back up 99.
Mm-hmm. 99 times? What about that one time?
That's the end of it.
You get to rest for a minute. You take a beat, I guess. Okay. So spiritually, it's been a steadfast strength for you to keep you going. Is that what you're saying? Pretty much?
Yes, very much.
Okay. So I know that you're a father, and I'm wondering how the Divine Masculine helps you to be a dad, a husband, or even simply a man. How about the dad aspect?
There have been days that I've wanted to give it up and go, I can't do this anymore. And then I look at the blessing that is my daughter and my grandson and go, I can't give up. They need me.
Yeah. Okay.
And as my daughter has gotten older, she and I have grown a lot closer. She has been, in her own way, what drives me to keep going. And it was a hard lesson for me to go, hey, I have to do this for myself, because if I can't take care of myself, how am I going to take care of my daughter?
Yeah, you have to have that internal strength to be able to have strength to hand over to other people.
And there's days I don't know where I find it, but I find it and I keep going.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're stronger than we know. And it seems that the gods make us aware of that from time to time, that we are stronger than we know, we're wiser than we know.
As I've gotten older, I've become a lot more introspective and gone, hey, I look at everything that I've overcome and go, I'm not done yet.
And I'm sure you look at things that you want to do and you're wondering, can I do that? And you look back and it's like, well, I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
You can do more.
Mm-hmm.
How about as a husband? How does the Divine Masculine come forth and help you in your relationships?
Well, my wife and I had to pay for our wedding with no help outside of ourselves.
Wow. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, we paid for it all out of our own pockets.
It was a beautiful wedding. I was there.
And we appreciated having you there. We struggled. We leaned on each other for support, and there were times that both of us were like, how are we going to do this? And we stuck to it, got through it, and now we're going on 10 months of marriage and
going strong.
Yeah,
it's interesting that you state that you leaned on each other, like two interdependent people that are standing on their own 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There were days that I wanted to give up and say, how the fuck are we going to do this? And there were days that she felt the same way. And I said, we've got this.
Yeah.
With everything she's been through, everything I've been through, we lean on each other here for a lot of our struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was overjoyed that she got her bachelor's degree last year. She's over halfway through her master's. She'll finish her master's in December.
Wow. That's amazing. Please tell her I'm so happy for her.
I will. She drives me to be a better version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm looking into going back to school. I found out that the program I wanted isn't offered through the college that I wanted to take it at. They have 2 campuses in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
One in Canton, the other in Houston.
Oh, gosh.
I can't give up 9 months of my life to go to school in Houston.
No. But I can see from the look in your eye that you're not done.
No, far from it. We're looking at moving back out this way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're looking at either renting or buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
If we can find a rent-to-own situation, that may be our best option.
So you've got that still strong strength of the divine masculine buoying you up and keeping you going. So your spirituality must be pretty strong.
It's gotten stronger over the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it hasn't reached its peak yet.
There's still good things that are going to happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that. It's wonderful. You mentioned a little earlier that there are some softer aspects of the divine masculine besides warrior, protector, and big, strong, tough guy. Can you expound on what some of those softer aspects might be? And I don't mean softer as in weak. I just mean softer as in not representing the big, tough guy as much, but the other aspects of godhood that men can reach out for and emulate if they need to. Like being nurturing.
For some of our listeners who don't know, Odin gave the world the runes with the Elder Futhark being tied to Yggdrasil for 9 days. And he sacrificed his own eye to understand the runes, and that sacrifice was in his mind, in his heart, for the greater good, the good of humanity. The runes are one of the oldest magical languages, and still used in a lot of magical works today. They've become a form of divination, and I personally view Odin as a great teacher. He may not always be the most direct in how he teaches you, but he does teach you. And the lessons learned will change how you look at things.
Yeah. I could see that. They change how you see yourself. They change how you see the world. It's like looking at the world with new eyes when you learn something new.
And I just in the last 2 years, how I view the world, how I view my craft has changed, and I think it has changed for the better. I had a wonderful teacher, her and Stan, with Quantum Craft.
Stan, our guiding priest? Okay, and...
The Quantum Craft class?
Oh, the Quantum Craft class, yes.
That
changed your life.
Oh, yes, it did.
Yes.
And I'm still feeling those changes.
Yes, the Quantum Craft class changed my life as well. It does it for everyone. You see the world with new eyes, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, my hands are on the steering wheel. I have to take charge of this. You're no longer a passenger once you take Quantum Craft.
No, and a lot of the shadow work aspect of it was stuff I was already doing, but the class gave me a new perspective on it. And when I question how much deeper I want to go, that's when I take that leap and go, okay, let's see how far I can go. But I think the Divine Masculine motivates you to be a better version of yourself. Yes, change can be uncomfortable, but everything changes.
Everything has to. I agree. Let's see. The larger global aspect of the Divine Masculine as it relates to the world. Have you any thoughts on how looking to the Divine Masculine can help with the global problems that we have? And I realize it's a very wide open question.
begin with, I think the divine masculine needs to shake the world up and awaken more of the world and open their eyes.
Oh, I think it has with the pandemic.
Well, not just with the pandemic, but with the social issues.
Oh, yeah.
That have recently been, or more recently been brought to the forefront of, hey, this needs to be changed.
Yeah, it's like it's like the pandemic made everybody slow down for a minute, and then they could see what was happening.
Mm-hmm. And we're just now starting to get that boulder moving of change that needs to happen.
Yeah, we're just starting.
It's going to be uncomfortable.
It's going to be a long road.
But a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yeah, and realizing your hands are on the steering wheel. And you're no longer a passenger.
Mm-hmm. And 20 years from now, we're going to look back at this and go, wow.
Those were our first steps. Yeah. So, do you have any other words of wisdom for men and women in general about the divine masculine to share?
I do, and I'm not sure how to best phrase it. And from one of the lessons from Quantum Craft, everything has its masculine aspects, everything has its feminine aspects, mm-hmm. and there is a balance in it.
Mm-hmm.
Leaning too far to one side, in either way, can be toxic.
Yes, you're speaking of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, which can also happen.
Mm-hmm. You have to find that middle of the road for yourself, and it may not always be easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll know if you're leaning too far one way or too far the other way. Hey. Because people will point it out to you.
Hopefully you'll feel the imbalance in yourself, but sometimes you do need people to point it out to you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've done my share of dumb things. I've learned a lot of lessons from them. Yeah. Embracing one specific, this is the way it has to be, isn't gonna work.
We have to remain teachable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And as the old adage goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
It's true. You need a thirsty horse. People have to remain thirsty. People can't be walking around as full glasses. You have to be teachable. You have to be able to allow good things in, and let go of things that aren't so good. I could see that. Those are wise words.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much for interviewing with me today.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Yeah. All of the Divine Masculine interviews have brought out something different from each person about the Divine Masculine, and they're all very, very wise, and I hope that each one of them gives our listeners something to think about, because that's the whole purpose of It Makes You Think, providing information and hopefully subjects just complicated enough for you to figure out and parse out for yourself, so that you actually spend some time thinking instead of just listening to what someone has said and just taking it in. It's, does this fit? Does this make sense? Is this worthwhile? And does this change the way I think or feel? That's what we try to do with It Makes You Think. So
I look forward to hearing the rest of the interview.
Yes, the interviews are incredible. And they will be in section 25 and 26 of the podcast for Pagan Pathways Temple.
Okay.
So I look forward to seeing you around Pagan Pathways Temple because you are a fellow board member with me.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy to be on the board. I'm happy to be able to give back to the community.
Oh yeah, so am I. All right, well that wraps up this interview for now. We'll get back to Fur and the rest of It Makes You Think, and we'll be talking to you in just a moment or two. Thanks for listening. Okay, Fur, we're back. What did you think of the interview?
Well, I found that Bear really takes to the Norse gods, the deities within the Norse religions. Odin, Thor, Loki, and
Hindle.
There was another one. Huh?
Hindle.
Hindle?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch as much about that.
Yeah.
I know more about Odin and Loki and Thor, so but they're very strong deities within that. And Odin is a common character, a commonality throughout a lot of religions.
Mm-hmm.
A protector, a creator, God, a father in some ways. And it's akin to Woden in another religion. It's like Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Christian god.
Mm-hmm. Yahweh.
Yahweh,
the Christian god, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way we practice, they didn't say Yahweh, they just called it God. But yeah, he really did have a lot to do with the strength and wisdom within those.
Again, strength and wisdom as exemplified by the men. He also did say that he saw the divine masculines being both creative and destructive. And he also spoke about the softer side of strength and of the divine masculine. He talked about the fact that Odin gives you no straight answers and teaches by experience and expects you to learn what you need to learn.
Yes.
And his spiritual life, he sees as a challenge that keeps him going and pushes us forward. And as a dad, husband, and man, I thought it was interesting that he spoke of both despair and blessings. His daughter and grandchild sort of it drives him forward, I believe he
Yes.
said. And because of them, he can't give up. So he really feels that he has to take care of himself first. And
Yes.
there comes that strength again. And I said, yeah, I think the gods prove to us again and again that we're stronger and wiser than we know.
Mm-hmm.
And as a husband, I thought it was so interesting. I mean, they've only been married for 10 months, but already they've graduated to being interdependent. Two people standing on their own 2 feet, helping the other along. And he said that his wife drives him to being a better version of himself, which I thought was beautiful. And over the past 4 years, he said that spiritually he's been getting stronger. But what he said about Odin, when I asked him about the softer aspects, he went directly to the story of Odin and the Yggdrasil, the Yggdrasil tree, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And how it is that Odin plucked out his eye so that he could have more wisdom. Mm-hmm. And as the story goes, Odin often sacrifices parts of himself, or had sacrificed parts of himself, to get wisdom. And he's done that over and over again. So I think what he was saying is that he sees sacrifice as being part of the softer side of the divine masculine. And I thought that was a good way to put it forward, is with that story.
But it's also part of being a father or being a parent. You sacrifice parts of yourself in order to take care of your kin, your children, or those who you watch over. Whether it be you sacrifice your monetary means, your time, your love, and you will. I will give my right arm for my children. Mm-hmm. It's part of being a parent, and especially with the male deities or the male mindset, as you will sacrifice to protect your people you love, as that protector saying in there too.
Yeah. He said that learning with Odin, it changes how you look at things, how you look at yourself, and how you look at the world. And he said that the last 2 years he's changed for the better.
Yeah.
He did mention quantum craft, which is a class that we teach at Pagan Pathways Temple. It's taught by our guiding priest, Stan Nunn. And it is a very interesting, worldview changing sort of class. And shadow work is a big part of it. And it gives you a new perspective, basically that you're no longer a passenger, you are having the hands on the steering wheel in the car in your life. So it's all about, a lot about personal responsibility and recognizing your interface with the universe. And that's all I'll say about quantum craft class, because if you want to learn more about it, you can go to paganpathwaystemple.org and check out our calendar for when the class is offered. Or you can write us and ask more about it at paganpathwaystemple@gmail.com. But getting back to Bear, when I asked him about the global aspect as it relates to the world, and his response was that it's shaking up the world and opening up their eyes. And that change is just starting to happen, which yes. I think is good. And I have to agree with him there. And it's all about personal responsibility. And I asked him if he had words of wisdom for men and women to share. And he said that he learned from a lot of things, and also learned from quantum craft, that everything has a male and a female aspect to it, and there's balance. And if you go too far either way, you end up being toxic. So he says that finding the middle of the road for yourself is what you need to do. He said that you would know, but sometimes you need people to point it out to you. And I guess that's because he's referring to the fact that everyone has a blind spot, and they can't see what they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know. And sometimes they need other people that can see around their blind spot to show them.
Yeah.
What's important is that you remain teachable.
Yes.
And when he says you can't bring a horse to water and make them drink, people have to remain thirsty, to remain teachable. So, was there anything else about the interview that caught your interest or made you think?
Well, he did speak a lot about change and the fact that it is necessary, but it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people look to their deities for, is the stability.
Yeah, and to sustain them through change.
In order to withstand change.
Yeah. It's true that when you do a change, sometimes it also requires a sacrifice, much like Odin. I mean, I don't mean people should pluck out their eyes, of course not. But I don't know of a single thing that's been gained without sacrificing something along the way. Some people refer to it as an opportunity cost. But everyone has to go through it in one way or another as we grow spiritually, physically, and mentally. So hopefully we all remain teachable.
Yes.
So this is It Makes You Think. And as always, we hope that what we have presented gives you information that you will parse out on your own for yourself, and you will think about it. That's all that we ask. Ask yourself the questions of, does this fit? Does it make sense? In this way, we like to give back to the community to try to get people just to think. So next week, actually in the next 2 weeks, we are going to be talking about the Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu. And Fur is going to school me up on the whole aspect of it, because she's going to let me borrow her book so that I can have at least enough information to know what to ask.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about the Tao Te Ching, Fur?
It's a lot to take in, but Taoism, you must remember, it's not a religion, it's a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people mix it up, because there is Taoist monks, there is Taoist teachers and stuff, but it can be practiced like a religion, but it's more of a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You don't worship anybody. There's a lot, and I can ramble on for hours, so I'm going to leave that for next time. So
yes, I think it's interesting to note that it's important to add Taoism to the overall umbrella of paganism, because not all pagans have gods. You know, some people that are pagan have a way of living or a certain wisdom or mode of thought, and Taoism is one of those. So yeah, we're going to go into that next time. So I want to thank everybody for listening and say goodbye. Say goodbye, Fur.
Goodbye, Fur.
All right. And I will hopefully be talking to you in 2 weeks. All right. Thank you very much for listening to It Makes You Think.
And now it's time for Conversation Corner with the Gladstones, here on PPT Presents.
Hi, this is Diana Gladstone.
Hi, this is Nancy.
And you're welcome to our Conversation Corner. Today we're talking about, how do you learn how to be a pagan or a witch?
There's lots of ways you can learn.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it will depend upon your own learning style and what's comfortable to you and what you find available.
And what faith you are.
True. That does make a difference. So for a lot of us, we typically start out our journey along paganism by being what they call a solitary. That means someone who's practicing and worshiping all alone. Normally,
or even just discovering who they are all alone.
True.
Might not even be the practice stage yet.
Yep. So a lot of us start off by reading books.
Or searching online.
Or looking at TV programs going, that seems a little bit far-fetched, but I like the philosophy behind that. Charmed. So a lot of us start by reading. One of the great things about Pagan Pathways Temple is we have a wonderful on-site library. So if you are even just curious and you don't want to spend your own money looking for books on paganism or Wicca,
you're local.
And you're local. Sorry for our international viewers. If you're local to the Southeast Michigan area and you want to come check out some really great pagan books, we've got a great library. But even if you're not, if you're interested in the craft, one of the books I personally started with was Spiral Dance by Starhawk. It's technically fiction, but it gives you some really great foundations to start exploring the craft and your faith.
And if you're not sure what books suit you, you can always email us at paganpathwaystemple@gmail.com, and we will gladly answer your questions. What books should you be reading?
If you're interested in shamanism, like my wife, we'd recommend some of the books by Ken Day, who's one of the recognized leaders in the post-tribal shamanism.
Yes.
I always try to make sure I get that right.
Yeah.
Another way you can start learning the craft is also kind of like I did. You find a mentor. Mine happens to be my former high priestess and one of my best friends, who was a practicing witch and priestess herself, and we hit it off, and she kind of took me under her wing.
And mine was my sister, who was 14 years older than me.
And even though she was a shaman, she didn't claim that title.
My sister didn't know what she was. She just knew she had these gifts and these talents and passed them on to her little sister, who she realized had the same gifts and talents, but they had no names.
Yeah, she taught her all about energy work and shielding and bubbling. And if you're ever in distress and you need a really strong bubble, ask my wife. She can put up one that's like armor plated.
And I'm also into healing too. I can do healing with my hands.
Yep. She's still trying to teach me that. I don't know that yet.
You're learning pretty good.
So one thing I will say, when you're seeking out a mentor, make sure that there's someone you're compatible with and that you can learn from, but don't try to fully mimic. And here's what I mean by that. I had a friend who found a mentor who turned out to be a narcissist and manipulator. So rather than teaching my friend, she tried to control my friend. And basically mentally screwed her up.
Or they tell you have to do it their way.
Or you in order to get to the next level, you have to have sex with them, or you have to give them all your money, or you have to cut yourself off from all other human contact except for them and their approved people. So just make sure your mentor is a mentor and not a cult leader.
And let you still have your individuality in it too.
The other thing I will say is to remember that a mentor is a teacher, not a spokesperson for the divine. Everyone approaches the craft a little bit differently. There is no one right way. So, how your mentor does things may differ from how you do things or how you believe. Hopefully you find someone who has similar morals and ethics and can really help and guide you.
One way of possibly finding a mentor is by attending classes.
And finding teachers or fellow students that seem to be on a similar path to you. So how do you find classes? Well, the great news is in this digital age, there is a ton online that you can attend, but there's also these great festivals and conferences that have wonderful in-person and online classes.
Just Google pagan festivals near you and see what there are.
Some of the most common, at least in our area, that I would recommend is in February of every year in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, there is the largest indoor pagan conference in the Midwest held every year called Convocation.
Well, now it's in the whole US of A since the one in California went under.
Either way, it's a really great 4-day indoor pagan festival where we welcome pagans of all different paths and faiths. Convocation, which is put on by the Magical Education Council,
yes,
also known as MEC.
MEC,
yay MEC. includes probably more than, I want to say, 200 classes, public rituals, a masquerade ball, DJ'd by DJ Chummy Tunes, who has his own special midnight ritual. If you're anywhere that you can get into this area and come to this, I highly recommend it.
Attendance is typically over 2,000 people. We're not talking small here.
I thought it was 1,000.
2,000.
2,000. Okay, I got the number wrong. Sorry, Mac.
Well, I thought it was 2,000. You might be right, but it's...
Either way, there's a lot of people.
And we sell out the hotel and the hotel next door.
And it's a lot of fun. We have everything at Convocation, from drumming to dancing, rituals, classes. Anyway, back to the classes. Actually, it was attending Convocation that helped my wife figure out that she was shaman, that there was a name for what she did. One of her first classes was with Ken Day, who talks about post-tribal shamanism.
And he took us on a journey to the underworld. And for how I do it, he did it a convoluted, long way. But he got to the same place that I end up, and it's like, wow, I do that. Wow, I finally have a name of what I am. I am not alone in this universe. I am a shaman. I do post-tribal shamanism. Yay! I now know where I belong. Then I took another class.
And she got an even better name for what she does. That is a...
urban shaman. A Hawaiian urban shaman. Because now I read a book by Serge King, and I do all of this stuff. 100%, all of it. And it's not so much about journeying, it's about how you live your life in general. So I'm a mixture of the two.
Mm-hmm.
So classes can help you find who you are and what path you follow, and if you change paths, that's fine too. No one says you're strictly on the path you start with.
Mm-hmm.
You may grow and evolve.
Mm-hmm. I know people that have started out as Wiccans, who then transitioned into fairy tradition, others who then transitioned into Hellenic, to Druid, to whatever you want. You know, it depends on what feels right and how you connect.
I know people that go 1 year in one tradition and then purposely learn about another one for the next year and learn about another one for the next year. Mm-hmm. Just to learn about them all, to see where they fit, and they end up melding some of each and they make their own.
Some of the classes aren't on just about what path you're on. They are also practical classes.
Yes.
About grounding and shield centering, about shadow work, about candle magic or spell writing.
Or your ancestors.
Or going to the Akashic Records.
Yes.
So festivals are a great way, and conferences, to find a lot of classes fast in a short period of time. Other aspects and ways of getting to classes are, have to plug it, we, Pagan Pathways Temple, provide classes ourselves, both online and in person. So if you are not in the southeastern Michigan area and you still would like to take classes, hey, check out PPT paganpathwaystemple.org and our calendar page, and you will see some of our great upcoming classes that we will be offering online.
Or go to our Facebook page and look under the events. We try to make events for every single class we offer.
The temple offers classes in basic Wicca, so Wicca 101, which is a 10-week course that I help teach. We have a course taught by our guiding priest, Nishan, on quantum craft. We have classes, we have single one-day classes from anything from elemental magic to conquering fear.
To energy work.
To magical ethics, to candle magic. You can find classes whatever and however you want.
And Norse
Norse, how to read runes, how to read tarot, astrology. There's classes on everything. If you can find one in your area, another great way of learning magic is to join a circle. Now, I'm going to do a little aside here. Many people have heard of circles or covens. They're somewhat different, and let me define the difference. Typically, a circle is a much looser
coven-like.
It's a learning circle is simply that. It's for a place for people to come in and learn and explore how to do ritual magic together. It does not require as much of a commitment. Typically, covens, you have to be invited in. You have to pledge for a specific time before you can become a coven member. It's typically a year and a day. And typically, then you're a coven member for life. Learning circles are set up so that people can come in, obtain knowledge, share their knowledge, and leave as they need. For example, Nancy and I were part of a learning circle that used to be at the temple. And what was great about it is the circle was made up of probably 10 to 15 of us.
Yes, primarily. Other people would come and go. But there was a base of like 10 or 15 of us.
And what was great is we would meet every other week, and we would each take turns sharing what we were good at so that we were teaching each other.
Yes.
So Nancy taught some classes on
grounding, shielding, centering, energy balls,
energy work, which is what she specializes at. I taught classes on the history of Wicca and doing guided meditations.
She's excellent at that.
We had a fellow circle member who was great at herbs and taught us the use of the different herbs and how to make mojo bags. We had another member who taught us the use of sigils and symbols.
Another one who was great at bibliomancy.
And so we just had a great time teaching each other. What was also wonderful about our circle is once a month, we would write and create our own rituals. And what was great is each member of the circle would take turns at leading the rituals. So everyone within the circle would either call quarters, act as priest or priestess, would contribute to the idea of the ritual, and then whoever was in charge of being priest and priestess that month would actually create a custom ritual from scratch. So we all learned how to write our own quarter calls, our calls to the god and the goddess, how to create and craft our statement of purpose, and how to cast and raise energy. So it was actually great training for if you ever want to potentially become a clergy or a high priest or priestess yourself.
Yes. And it's easy to start. Just find friends in your local area and say, hey, would you like to
make magic together?
Yes. That's how it basically started.
Mm-hmm. So, as you can see, there are many different paths for learning, and it really depends on how you want to learn. My daughter has high social anxiety, so the thought of her going up and talking to people scares her shitless. So my daughter prefers to learn by reading books, by cruising the internet, and very much being a solitary. The idea of being in a circle and having to help co-teach frightens her greatly.
My daughter is an extrovert. She's the one that invited us to the circle and said, come on, you got to do this.
Yes. She's the one who drug us to the circle, to the learning circle, to convocation, to Pagan Pride Day, to Michigan Pagan Festival. If there's a pagan gathering going on, Nancy's daughter will find it and she will drag us to it. But so wherever you are in your community, if nothing else, almost every major metropolitan area across the U.S. has a Pagan Pride Day. They're typically held outdoors in August or September. So simply look for it, and they will have some really cool classes usually. As we said, if you're interested in online classes, check out Pagan Pathways Temple. We are not only offering online classes because of the pandemic, we will continue to offering those classes going forward. And I think that's it.
That's it. Have a great day.
Have a great day, and blessed be.
Blessed be.
This episode of PPT Presents is brought to you by Pagan Pathways Temple. Pagan Pathways Temple is a 501c3 out of beautiful Madison Heights, Michigan. We offer classes, community outreach, ritual space, and a library available to our members. To find out more or to become a member, please go to paganpathwaystemple.org or patreon.com/paganpathwaystemple. Pagan Pathways Temple, growing in the old ways where all paths are open.
This PPT Presents broadcast is brought to you by TechWitch Detroit. TechWitch Detroit for all your IT needs. Please visit us on the web at techwitchdetroit.com. TechWitch Detroit, we can help.